Okay, today I'm going to be putting in a generic dash cam on my Blackbird. It is completely generic. There is no branding at all. It's just a motorcycle DVR in a box with some instructions. The very first thing you do, of course, is rip out all the Chinese instructions and throw it away. Comes with a mounting thing at the front, which I'll ignore. Usual zip ties and mounting plate for the front and rear cameras, along with some screws, and then of course the unit itself, and two cameras, rear and front. So the actual useful wiring diagram is this one here. So we have the rear lens adapter plug, and a wire for GPS, which I'll ignore, and then on the other side we've got the front lens and 5-volt power supply, and that's the wiring for the 5-volt power supply. Now I've got a Thunder Box, HealTech Thunder Box, so all I'm going to do is join the red and the yellow wires together and connect that to the Thunder Box's power block, and then ditto with the black wire. So the unit itself looks like this. So the top wire is the rear camera, middle wire is GPS, which I ignore, top wire is the front camera, blue goes to the front, and then the power supply itself, which has, so I've taken the red and the yellow together into Thunder Box's positive, and then I've taken the ground black into the Thunder Box's negative bus, or ground bus. There's the Thunder Box there. So in theory, if I fire up the bike now, after 5 seconds or so, it'll blink for 5 seconds, and this thing should fire up, and we'll see if it actually works, and then we'll place the cameras. Okay, so we'll just fire up the Blackbird. We've got it all wired up, so we should see it show front and rear. We'll turn it on. Right, nothing happens as expected. Fire up the bike, and we should see this blink for 5 seconds, and then after that it should supply power to the camera. So we've got front and rear cameras, rear camera and front camera, so that's all working. When I switch off, it should power down, yep, which it does. Great. So now we place the cameras. Now I've been giving the placement of the cameras a bit of thought. From a lot of people do their videos, I think, and they place them under or near the number plate. I actually want to place mine as high as possible, so I'm going to mount mine there, just above the left rear indicator, and the front one similarly. You see a lot of YouTube videos and they stick it down here, which is okay, but I think it makes it look like you're on a skateboard. So I've decided to try and make it as high as possible. So I thought I might stick it up here on the mirror. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to do it, but that's the initial thought. And the other thing is, I don't like using hardware that comes with these things because it's usually rubbish. So I like to use whatever hardware is there. So for example, this one here, there's a little bolt there, which I can use to mount this. I'm trying to make it as inconspicuous as possible, but we'll have to see how we go. So for example, I might actually just use, I might bend that down or whatever, and then just mount it using that screw like that, and just try and make that as inconspicuous as possible. Anyway, that's the plan. And I'm going to mount this thing. Oh, the reason I want the camera on this side, the rear camera on this side, is because I've got a spot oiler on this side, and all the wiring, the current wires seem to be on this side, so I'll just thread it through and stick it in there, and the actual, the head unit or whatever you want to call it, I'll bung in there and put a strap around it to make sure it stays in place, similar to how the straps have been put in place for the existing or bits and pieces, or you know, they've been either strapped or got Velcro behind them to keep them in place. Okay, that's the rear camera mounted. Just put one screw there, and yeah, fairly solid. So I'm happy with that. Okay, so it's part way through the process. So I've used the existing bolt. This will be hopefully hidden when I'm finished. Put the wire through there, and just going to thread it through the hole for the turning light, and then bring it down under here, and see how we go. Okay, that's the finished product. Facing forward, wires just gone behind there, through there, and I've got it coming out here. I'll just thread it along here like I have with the existing wiring, and it'll come out on the back end of the bike. Yeah, reasonably happy with that. Okay, so at this stage, got the front and rear cameras in place. Rear camera is wired up. Got power to it as well. So just going to run it loose for the time being. Or maybe just, I'll say loose, I mean I'm just going to attach it to the frame, but we'll maybe not wrap it like I have with other stuff. Anyway, got power to it, as I say, and then this goes to the front, and there's the unit there, which I will eventually have like a little rubber thing there, and I'll just be able to put it in, take it out, and if I pull a bit harder, all the wiring comes out, and I can take it all the way down to the battery if required. That's where the SD card goes in. So just trying to make life easy for myself. And on the front I've got, and again this is just work in progress, so I've got the camera up in place, wiring down, coming out here. I'll attach that to something and just follow this. I've got this one already wired in, and I'll basically just follow wherever that runs. I'll just do the same with the front camera cable. Hey Arch, what's up, bud? Okay, I think I'm done. Took me a bit longer than I expected because I had to push the tank up a bit, support the tank. But everything's done. I've just got to do a bit of tidying up, but I want to actually take it out and make sure these are positioned correctly. And I want to tidy this up a wee bit, obviously, as well. Make sure things aren't going to get like that, for example, and put it in the right place, make sure it's not going to get squished by anything else. Yeah, that's about it. Pretty happy with it. Okay, so with the camera installed, now I've just got to do a bit of setup. In order to avoid me having to turn the bike on, what I can do is take a wire straight from the battery to the white wire off the Thunder Box, which turns it into ignition mode, which means basically that if I touch this, yeah, it's as if I turned the ignition on. So this should fire up, which it does. And then of course everything's in Chinese. So the very first thing you've got to do is figure out where to change the language. And with these things, generally it's you press the menu key twice. I'll just say OK, whatever the heck that means. And go menu. Okay. And what we're after is that toolbox thing there, which you just get to by pressing the menu again. And then you walk down until you find something that looks like text, ABC, which is that one. ABC. Go OK. And then everything turns to English. Like that. Yippee! Okay, so at this stage I've made all the settings I need to make. For example, setting the date timestamp, setting the loop time to 5 minutes, so I get a fewer number of files to edit. Check that when I power on that this thing automatically starts recording. That automatically turns off after 1 minute. And then I had to adjust the cameras to give the correct view, and that's it.